Hi, my name is Wayne Dyer. A Persian poet from back in the ancient times in the 13th century. His name was Jalaluddin Rumi. And Rumi has this observation that's been very important and very powerful to me. He said, "The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep." Let me say it again. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. I'd like to take a poll. Just by a show of hands, I'd like to ask how many people in this room, and there's about 3,000 of us here tonight, I'd like to ask you, how many of you awaken at one time or another between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m.? Let me just see by a show of hands. And if you look around, you see that this is a universal experience. Now, what do you think that is? If everybody, almost everybody, awakens at some time between 3 and 4. Now, for some of us, we just interpret that as, all right, this is my age. I'll just run into the bathroom and I'll be right back. And you may make that visit several times a night. I don't know. But there's more to that. And I'd like you to now, of all of those people who raised their hand at this idea that you awaken sometime between 3 and 4 a.m., how many of you awaken at exactly the same time? Exactly the same time, with a little digital clock next to you. What is your time? 3:18. What is your time? 2:20. What is yours? 4:50. So there's and this happens repeatedly, over and over again. My time is 3:13. I awaken at 3:13 night after night after night. I look over, I've got this little clock. It's not an alarm clock, it's just a little digital clock. I just look over and it's 3:13 again and again and again. So what I had trained myself to do in the writing of this book, in the inspiration book, is to put my feet on the floor and say to myself, all right, you are going to awaken because here's what Rumi said, the morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. Do you realize that between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night, this is the time when you're closest to your source? This is the time when it's the quietest. It is the time when it's the most peaceful, when there are the least distractions. And of course in Miracles it says the memory of God comes to the quiet mind. It cannot come where there is conflict. A mind at war with itself remembers not eternal gentleness. Eternal gentleness. That's what you came from. It beckons you back to be awake. It's the most creative time in your life. Try it. Take that moment that you are being called by your source and awaken, and force yourself to shake the cobwebs out. And if you can't, then put your feet on the floor and say, look, if I have to go back to sleep, I'm going to sleep with my feet on the floor. And after a while, that gets very uncomfortable, and you'll get yourself up. Now, when I do that and I get up, that is the most glorious time to be out there. And I go out onto the lanai, and I get this sense of this powerful feeling of inspiration. It's overwhelming to me. And I walk by my writing table, and it pulls me. It's pulling me towards it. It's almost beckoning me and saying, please, please come to me. I want you to, and I sit there sometimes, and I literally wonder, where is this coming from? The words, they just flow, and I sit there and I write by hand. And as I'm writing and allowing this to flow through my heart and onto the pages, I just think to myself, I wonder what's going to come next. I wonder when it's going to come next. It's almost as if God is saying, this is why you're here. And I can't get you any other time because it's just so busy, and there's horns bonk, and there's so many distractions. But here's a time when you can just be with me. Just be in spirit. Just be inspired. Inspirado. Be in this space with me. And I will then allow what creative juices that you have forgotten about because you edged me out. for so much a part of your life. And here it is. And you'll find yourself getting the right ideas, examining things that you never thought of before. Writing, some of you, I know you do it in your sleep many times, you'll write a poem and it'll be so phenomenal. And then you'll say, well, I'll remember that tomorrow. And then you get up and you can't get any of it. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. Use those hours. And forget about the idea that, let's see now, I went to bed at 11. And if I get up at 3, that means 4 hours, so I'm going to be 4 hours deficient all day long. I'm not going to be... Forget that. You've got an eternity to sleep. An eternity to sleep. And when you learn to meditate and get quiet and get peaceful, you can always, in 20 minutes time of meditation, any time during the day, get the equivalent of a full night's sleep. Don't go back to sleep.
The essence of gratitude is understanding that every moment of your life is something to be grateful for. And that everything that shows up in your life is something that you will want to be expressing a sense of gratitude about. I speak often about how we take things for granted, and taking things for granted is one of the obstacles to having an attitude of gratitude. Taking things for granted very often, I've often said that I think we should have special days every year in which we appreciate all the different aspects of our being. You know, like we give thanks for our liver on Mondays, on the 3rd of January, Liver Appreciation Day. Or just try to imagine what it would be like if you didn't have that liver. There would be nothing for you to imagine. And then, for the air that we breathe, and for the ground that we walk upon, and for gravity, and for the food that we have, and for the sky, and for, our eyelids, which we just take for granted. Without them, how difficult it would be for us to get through even an hour of our day. And our toenails, and everything about ourselves. To begin to experience a sense of gratitude. Now, when we're talking about affirmations, and we're talking about manifestation, here we want to look at what it is we are asking to have manifested for ourselves. And remember, we are not creating anything, we're just redistributing, if you will. Everything that needs to be created is already in the universe. There's no place to go. I remember when the story was told of Swami Muktananda, great spiritual teacher, who was dying. And all of his devotees and students gathered around, and he was leaving. And he had announced that. His students were praying with him, and they were pleading with him, please don't go, Swami, please, we're not ready for you to leave. And he opened his eye and looked at them and said, don't be silly. Where could I go? Where is there to go? Everything is already here. And so, when you are manifesting and you are asking for things to show up in your life, as they begin to show up in your life, learning to be grateful for this. Now, that's not so difficult. Most of us say thank you. I have a little ritual that I do every day, and that is almost every day God sends money to me in some form, particularly when I'm running. Happens virtually every day of my life. And it's a little game, a mental game that I have played with myself. I'll be out running, and I'll be thinking about all of the abundance that has shown up in my life, and how grateful I am, and how grateful I am to have my children. One of the things that my wife and I practice regularly is telling our children how fortunate we feel to be their parents. How lucky we are. Not how lucky they are to have us as parents, but how blessed and how grateful we are. And I'll often pick up my little boy or one of my little girls and just put my arms around and say, I am really lucky to have you. I'm really blessed to have you show up in my life. I feel that way about all my children. And having that kind of attitude is something that I do with everything that has shown up in my life. Because I lived a big hunk of my life without a lot of abundance, with a great deal of scarcity. But even while I was living in scarcity, there was never a sense of poor me, or I wish I had more, or even looking at other people and saying, they've got it and I don't. That attitude keeps you from being grateful for what you have. Even as a child, I didn't learn to say, oh, they've got a Cadillac and we have to drive around in an old Chevy or something. There was a sort of an internal knowing that you haven't earned a Cadillac. You know, that isn't something that you even think about as being yours. They used to talk about being able to buy a Cadillac when I was a young man, you know, buying my first car, and they said a Cadillac cost almost $4,000. I couldn't comprehend a Cadillac costing $4,000 and having $4,000 to buy a car. I mean, it wasn't like something I would even give a moment's notice to. If other people had that was just their karma, or that was their benefits, or somehow they had done something to earn that. Now, today, when I go to buy a car, $4,000 is an option. You want this stereo system instead of this one? That'll cost $4,000 extra. All right, throw it in. What do I? You know, it's got extra speakers. I mean, my first car was an old 1950 Plymouth that had you know, rusted out sides on it, and I washed that thing every day, and I was so proud of it. I was so excited about that. And the idea of looking at somebody else's new car and thinking that there was something wrong here, that they had it and I didn't, couldn't have occurred to me. And I believe it's that attitude of being grateful for whatever shows up in your life that allows additional things to show up in your life. And my little ritual that I play every day when I'm out running is little coins that I find in the street. I found one this morning when I was running before I made this presentation, right out in front of the hotel. A penny, a shiny penny. And you know, I have a I've never admitted this in public before, but I have a large jar of coins that is hidden behind in a bookcase behind a whole. Nobody knows where this is except myself, and this contains all of the money that I have found in the last 20 years. And it's a huge amount of money. Some of it is wrinkled up bills. A lot of it is foreign money because I've run in foreign countries. And most of the coins are dirty and they've been out on the street for a long time. And there's a couple of $20 bills. There's a $100 bill in there. And every time I look at that little symbol that just keeps growing, it reminds me to be grateful. And when I pick up one of those coins, I always say, thank you, God, for this symbol of abundance that has shown up in my life. Thank you. And I put it in my pocket and I put it away in a special. And then when I get back to my office, I go to that little place and I put it in there and I look at that. And that's my reminder. What gratitude does is it keeps you connected to that source which brings things into your life. It keeps that connection open.
I have a very strong belief that everything that comes into your life is supposed to, and every condition of your life is part of the perfection of it, and that there's a blessing in all of it, and that there are no accidents, that it's a perfect, absolutely, totally perfect universe. Everybody that you meet for a reason. Everybody you're sitting next to, you're there for a reason. You can either take advantage of it or not. You have choices to make throughout it all. At the same moment, there's an opportunity in it, and I never look back with anything but gratitude for all that was handed to me, because I learned firsthand as a very young boy how to be self-reliant, how to take responsibility for myself, how not to blame other people for it, and to find something positive in it, and always did. Think of yourself as connected to and a part of it all, rather than someone who is being victimized or slowed down or abused by, or here it happens again. It's all part of the perfection of it all. That's a very nice, enlightening place to get to. It really slows you down. And it doesn't take away your ability to make choices. It takes away your wanting the world to be as you think it should be instead of as it is. That's what defines neurotic. That's what neurotic really means. To be wanting the world to be as you are rather than as it is. And for you to process it exactly the way it is.
And if you see everybody as a teacher, then you ask yourself, what do I have to learn here? And it's like in that second that you're just about to be angry and go around and maybe even have a head-on collision or whatever, or maybe nothing, but still in a hurry, maybe at that moment that person is there That person is there to teach you to slow down a little bit.
Whenever you have a thought of, I don't have enough coming into my life, things aren't the way I would like them to be, I don't have enough money coming in, I don't have the right kind of relationship, that's all coming from a place of fear and a place of lack. When what I've learned to do is just go within and say, I am exactly the way I'm supposed to be, and everything that has ever shown up in my life showed up exactly on time, the same way the sun shows up on time every morning and the moon shows up every evening on time, that everything in this universe is absolutely perfect. There are no accidents in it, and the only choices that I have are how I'm going to process the things that have showed up in my life, the father that I had, the resentments that I had with them. I no longer have to have those.
So the lowest stage of enlightenment is that stage where you look back on your life and you say, now I know why I had to be an alcoholic for those years. And now I know why I had to be in that relationship with my ex-wife. And now I know why I had to go through the bankruptcy. Or now I know why I had to create that cancer. Or that heart attack. Or whatever it was that taught me how to transcend that self-defeating behavior that I used to think I couldn't do anything about. You see? The second stage of enlightenment is when things like this are happening to you, you know there's a blessing in it. There's an opportunity in it while it's happening. You're smoking, and you know that there's something in this for me. You're going through a relationship difficulty, or you're having an accident, or you've gone through a series of illnesses, whatever it may be that seems to be a struggle for you in your life. While it's happening, you're looking constantly for what's in it for me? What can I get out of this? There's no mistakes out there. It's all being created for some reason. So that's the second stage. And that minimizes the suffering. Because you're looking for what's in it for you. How can I get something out of that? So that the person cutting you off, the way your children talk, whatever, you're not instantly threatened by that. You're constantly aware that these people are behaving that when there's something in this for me to learn. And I think I'll get it now. I think I'll get it now, instead of waiting 6 years, suffering through it, and then seeing it. But there's a higher stage. It's the highest stage. In Zen, they call it, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It's the same. The only difference is that you're doing it from a totally new perspective of thought. And this dimension, the highest stage, what enlightenment really is, it's when you're back home again. Instead of pulling away from yourself, you're towards yourself. And this is what it is. You are able to get out in front of it. Play it out in the dimension of thought. And decide for yourself whether it's even necessary to bring it into form.
You go from being the actor in your life who is being directed by the events, the circumstances, and the other people in your life, to being the director at the second stage. And in the third stage, you become the producer of your life.
The name of God is I am. That I am. Now, every time you use the name I am, you are using the name of God. How do you use this name? In the book of Joel, there's a line that says, "Let the weak man say, I am strong." Now, one of the things that I want to leave you with here in the time that I have with you today is for you to become conscious of how you use this term, I am. So what I encourage you to do in terms of manifesting is to take out a piece of paper sometime when you're at home, and it sounds like a silly thing to do, but I want you to do it. I want you to write at the top of that page the word that. T-H-A-T, that. Okay? And under that heading, whatever it is that you would like to attract or manifest into your life, I would like you to just write that down. All right? So if it's a job that you want, if it's a relationship that you want, if it's a healing that you want, if it's abundance that you want to attract into your life, whatever it is, just place it underneath that. And come to a place in your life where it is spoken about in the book of Romans, in the New Testament. He calls those things which do not exist as though they did. You must be able to get to this place in your life where you don't use the evidence of your senses, what your eyes tell you, what your ears tell you, what your stomach tells you, what you see written down, what the internet tells you. You want to be able to be in a place where you are living from the end as if what you would like to manifest is already there. To make a future dream, a present fact, you must assume the feeling of that wish as already being fulfilled. Your subconscious mind is listening to how you are asking the universe to provide for you what it is that you would like to attract or manifest into your life. And if you fill your subconscious mind with all of the things that you don't want, that you don't like, that make you unhappy, that make you depressed, that make you worry, then your subconscious mind, which is impersonal, and remember, it can't make a distinction between what it is that you are feeling as a result of what you place into your mind or what is actually happening in your life. It doesn't distinguish one from the other. It's totally impersonal. It's just open to suggestion. And here you are suggesting to your subconscious mind, which will, when you awaken, you will align with the universal subconscious mind, the one mind. You know, there's millions of people out there in the world. There's millions of you watching this program. And you can see the difference between each and every one of you on the basis of your appearances. But there's only one mind. That's what the great spiritual texts all teach us. So now, if you program your subconscious mind to tell yourself, to go over all the things you don't want, all the things you don't like, all the things that shouldn't have happened, all the ways that you were mistreated, all about how terrible the economy is. And, you know, we live in a fear-based world. You want to shift away from that kind of consciousness and use the last 5 minutes of your day to program your subconscious mind with what you have placed into your imagination with your I ams. I am well. I say it to myself every night, especially when I get into that state, you know, that weird state where you're sort of half awake and you're half asleep and you know you're heading towards that sort of subconscious place. And I just remember what it says in the book of Job. I don't want my instructions sealed by going over, I am sick, I am poor, I am unhappy. I just say, I am content. I am lucky. When I wake up in the morning, I don't say, oh, good God, morning. It's the reverse. I say, good morning, God. You know, it's like being grateful rather than being in that place where the things that you don't want are what you have programmed your life to be. I always think of this as, you know, like you have a currency. And if I were to give you currency to go out and purchase what you want, and every place you went, you took this currency that you have to purchase what you want, and you purchase what you don't want, and then when you get home and you wonder why your house and your life is filled with everything that you don't want, it's because you're insane. That's just insanity. It is. I mean, why would you take the currency that you have to buy what you do, that's there for what you do want, and spend it on what you don't want? Well, the currency that you have for attracting into your life what you would like to have are your thoughts and your imagination and your I ams, your God consciousness. Why would you use it to say, I am unable, I am unlucky, I cannot, I will not? You're throttling, that's what it says in the I am discourses, you're throttling that great I am presence that is located within you. And so, the last 5 minutes of your day, as you're about to marinate for 8 hours in your subconscious mind with your unconscious state, you want to go into that state. Even if your senses tell you, oh, this is, you're just fooling yourself and so on. You don't want to use your senses and the internet and other people's opinions, what you see, what you hear. You want to let go of all of that and recognize that anything that you want to attract or create for yourself in your life begins with what you have placed in your imagination and have assumed the feeling of that wish fulfilled. And now you're going to practice it. Because I've been trying to getting stuff out of your subconscious mind is a big job. It really is. Most people are just not willing to do what it takes. I still can't get the Morse code out of my subconscious mind. I need to have a major deprogramming thing. There's that exit sign. Dit-da-da-da-da, dit-da. It's always there. But that's just harmless. What isn't harmless is, placing into your subconscious mind all the things that you're reviewing about what you don't like, about what didn't happen, about who mistreated you, about how sad you are, about how this can't happen. You are a creator.
So the bottom of this scale is 20. It's the very lowest thought that you can have. And it will always weaken you. Not only will it weaken you, but it will ultimately destroy you, such as its weakness. It's, at 20, it's shame. So if you are using shame on yourself, or you're using shame as a way of parenting or working with others, what you are doing is you are always using an emotional energy that will weaken. The emotion that accompanies shame is called humiliation. And the life view is one of misery, and the God view, the view of God, is one of despising. God despises us. We are ashamed. There's something wrong with us. The next level up, which is very, very low and will always weaken you, is 30, is guilt. Feeling guilty. The emotion that accompanies it is blame. The God view is one of God as vindictive. God is punishing. And the life view is one of life is evil. There's something wrong with life. The next level up is one that's called 50. And this level is the emotion that accompanies that is despair. So that apathy and despair go together. The God view is one of God as condemning. And the life view is that life is hopeless. There's not much that we can do. The next level up is 75, which still weakens us. It's grief. The emotion is regret. God's view is disdainful. And the life view is one of tragic. Life is tragic. We are now moving to 100, which is called fear. And the emotion that accompanies fear is anxiety. The God view is one of punitive. God is punishing. And life view, frightening. Life is frightening. Now we move up to 125, what he calls desire. And the emotion that accompanies that is craving, always wanting to get someplace else. The life view is one of life is disappointing, and the God view is denial, denying. Now we move to 150. We are still at emotions and thoughts that you have that will weaken you. At 150, the emotion that accompanies it is hate. The life view is that life is antagonistic. And the God view is that God is vengeful. We are now moving closer to that which will strengthen us, to something called pride. Pride. And the emotion that accompanies pride is called scorn. The life view is that life is very demanding. And the God view is that God is indifferent. Doesn't care one way or the other. Now we move to 200. We are now making a distinction between being able to recognize truth from falsehood. This is called courage. And the emotion that accompanies courage is affirmation, affirming, life is affirming. The life view is that it is feasible. And the God view is that God is permitting. God allows us. All right. Now we move to 250. We are now talking about emotions
and thoughts which strengthen us. At 250, trust is the emotion. Neutrality is the level of thought. The life view is life is satisfactory, and that the view of God is that God is enabling. God enables us. We move now to 310, what he calls willingness. Willingness. Whereas the emotion of willingness is something called optimism, an optimistic view of life. The life view is that life is hopeful, and the God view is that God is inspiring. Now we have moved from God being despising and vindictive and punitive and vengeful and indifferent and permitting and enabling to now God is inspiring. At 350, acceptance, the emotion is forgiveness. I accept and I forgive. The life view is that life is harmonious, and the God view is that God is merciful. Mercy. We now move to 400, where very, very few people ever get to, called reason. The emotion of reason is understanding. The life view is that life is meaningful. There's a meaning to all of this. And the God view is that God is not only merciful and inspiring, but God is wise. Wisdom comes with knowing God. Now we move to 500, which we're talking about a handful of people. The level is called love. The emotion is reverence. The life view is that life is benign, non-cancerous, non-debilitating. And the God view is that God is loving. At 540, the level of joy, where there is sadness, let me bring joy, remember. The emotion is serenity, a sense of just being serene in life. The life view is that life is complete. I am complete. And the God view is that all is one. All is one. At 600, the level of peace, the emotion is bliss. So it's not just serenity, but it's bliss, which is that wonderful, great, good feeling, continuous. Life view, life is not only complete, it is perfect. And the God view, all being. And finally, enlightenment, between 700 and 1,000. The emotion that goes with the sense of enlightenment is what he calls the ineffable. Ineffable. Life view, everything is. There's no judgment. And the God view, self. The self is God. And I want to share with you this one exercise that I learned, that I have been practicing, and that is very profound. If you want the qualities of your higher self, remember, I'm speaking here now about God, the God within you, the almighty, omniscient person that you are, the energy that is your birthright, but you have lost sight of because of your coming to believe things to be true, which only take you to places called ordinary. If you want the qualities of your higher self to flow down into your lower self, you're going to have to bring your imagination into play. Now, I'll be speaking in the last part of tonight's talk about the power of the imagination. It's the greatest gift you've ever been given. And everything that exists in the physical world once started in someone's imagination, including you. If you want the qualities of your higher self to flow down into this lower self, where you can become this almighty, omniscient, omnipotent being, you're going to have to bring your imagination into play. You are down here on earth, using your imagination, you focus on your higher self in the world above, and picture him looking down at you. In other words, from that higher level, you look down and see yourself and the imperfect conditions in which you live. Keeping this thought before you, you set in motion a current
an invisible current that flows between the self that is above and the self that is below. In this way, you are restoring the vital link between you, for from down here, you are thinking that you are up there, and up there, you are conscious that you are down here, thinking of yourself up above. It's very difficult to explain this clearly, as you can see. At the same time, you divide yourself, you also unify yourself. You divide yourself into two, one above and one below. The one above, your true self, watches the one below as he meditates on that self above. And in this way, an extraordinary current is established between the two, making it possible for your superconscious to develop. You stay with your eyes closed, conscious at the same time that you are there in your room, a living, thinking being, while your all-powerful, omniscient higher self above sees his reflection and recognizes himself in you. Seeing himself, he smiles at you, perhaps even laughs a little. And you watch from below and begin to get to know him while he watches you from above. In this way, the gulf between the higher and the lower poles of your being begin to narrow until one day it disappears, and they are fused into one. When this happens, your lower self no longer exists. That lower self, the ego, which is not a true reality, disappears, and all that is left is your real higher self. No more weakness, no more discouragement, no more darkness. You become omniscient, immortal, and eternal. Now, it sounds like, well, I'll just go ahead and do that, and it's all going to just work out for me. But what I'm really saying here is that it's an exercise that if you begin to practice it for about 30 minutes a day in your meditation and begin to picture this higher part of you, your origination place, the spark of God that is you, where you came from. Not just because I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective, but whoever the quantum physicists are that are watching and listening tonight, whoever they are as well, they all know that it is an invisible field of energy from which all things originate, to which all things return. That is your essence. It is your true self. And if you can just get that higher self to become 1 or 2 or 3% of who you are, you can begin to access through your intuition the kinds of things that your false self doesn't allow. Muktananda called the ego the false self because in those first 9 months of your existence, from that spark of God that you were, when everything that you needed for this physical journey was handled in there in this miraculous way that is just too profound and too mysterious for us even to begin to fathom, isn't it? It's the great mystery, isn't it? That's what the Tao teaches us. Live the mystery. Don't be afraid to wander into the unknown. Don't be afraid to know that this music that you came here to play is calling you. It's begging you. You can't fulfill somebody else's dharma. You can't do it the way your family wants you to do it. You can't do it the way they did it before. You have to go within and know that this is my calling. Abraham Maslow taught me when I was a young doctoral student, you must learn to be independent of the good opinion of other people. You must learn to detach yourself from outcome. That's what self-actualizing people do. Those are the two most important qualities. Detachment from outcome. You don't do what you do because of what you're going to make or what kind of rewards you're going to get or how people are going to like you. You do what you do because it's your passion, because you won't allow anything else to be but what you feel inside. It's what I used to call being a scurvy elephant.
Transform, going beyond your form. Listen to each thought, let it sink in, and begin putting it into practice, beginning now. Number 1. Know in your heart that there is an invisible intelligence in everything, and you have the power to make contact with this divine intelligence and create a life of bliss. There is something divine that rolls through all things. You can't get a hold of it? A little seedling has treeness in it when it is put into the ground. You can't see treeness, you can't see the tree, yet you know it is in there. And same with you. You have
greatness. You have an energy that is so powerful, and it flows through you and in everything that you come into contact with. Know it, begin to trust it, and you'll find yourself experiencing transformation in your life. Number 2, this is your sacred quest. The doorway to higher levels of awareness in your life opens inward. And most of us spend our lives facing the wrong way, looking outside of ourselves for the solutions to our problems. Where inward, in that silent, quiet, empty space within, is where the universal intelligence lies. It is where your essence as a human being is. Begin to look inward rather than outward each day. Number 3, become aware that there are no accidents in our intelligent universe. Realize that everything that shows up in your life has something to teach you. Appreciate everyone and everything in your life. You need to begin looking inward at who you are and why you are here, instead of outward at the physical world or anything in it. Make this a day of appreciation, a day of being in awe and bewilderment of everything that you come into contact with. Appreciate your liver, appreciate your eyes, appreciate your legs, appreciate your mind, and everything that you come into contact with. Instead of judging it, just appreciate it. Number 4, draw your inner energy from the beauty that surrounds you. When you do so, this energy reception will become a source of strength and sustenance in your life. As you begin practicing beauty appreciation and seeing it in all things that you encounter, including all people, as you begin to see the fullness of God in everyone rather than something to judge, you'll find a new kind of bliss in your everyday life. Number 5, be peaceful. Experience silence, meditate, and really listen to God. The result will be that you will find the solution to each and every one of your problems, whether it be related to relationships or finances, health, or self-image, all within yourself. The peace and the quiet and the solitude all come from an understanding that God's one and only voice is silence, as Herman Melville reminded us. And if you can just be, even for one moment today, just peaceful and just go within, you're going to find a bliss that you perhaps didn't ever know before. Number 6, forgive yourself for your transgressions. See that mistakes are lessons for you to transcend. Release yourself from the tyranny of self-recrimination. Make the decision to be free. Everything that's ever happened to you in your life has happened for a reason. And when you are filled with an absence of self-forgiveness, and you're full of recriminations about what you did or shouldn't have done, or what you should have done, all of these kinds of things are really a message that you're sending to the universe saying, God's plan doesn't work and mine does. That's really an insidious thing to say. Everything that you've done or experienced is over, and you had something to learn from it. So forgive yourself and move on with your life. Number 7, write down this ancient truth and reread it on a daily basis. When you seek happiness for yourself, it will always elude you. When you seek happiness for others, you will find it yourself. Number 8, attempt to remove all enemies from your thoughts. The same intelligence that flows through you flows through all human beings. When you know that you are connected to all, you cannot fathom striking out at others, let alone feeling hatred for them. Or another way of saying this is, on a round planet, there's no choosing up sides. We all are here for a reason. We all have the same divine energy flowing through us. And when we stop thinking of ourselves as separate from everyone else, we begin to see and experience the love that we are here for in the first place. In my opinion, God doesn't want us to love God. God wants us to learn to love each other. That's what it means to be a holy being, to not have enemies and to love each other. That's truly what loving God is about. Number 9, Release everything that you have been told is impossible or unrealistic, and allow yourself the freedom to make your own contract with God about what is possible for you. Examine all of the doubts that you have about miracles and miracle workers, and replace the doubt with openness. Be open, and release everything that you hate.